Welcome back, everyone. This is Cats Connection News. This is a new segment called Elementary Faculty of the Month. This is our first person that we've asked to be here. It's nice to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I am Mrs. Caveny. I teach fifth grade currently at the elementary. I have experience teaching junior high and other grade levels, and I have 2 more years until I retire.
Oh, 2 years. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to be a teacher?
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be involved in things that kept me busy, and I had a lot of experience with working with other kids. I babysat a lot when I was a kid. I was a leader of different kinds of groups. And so at first I didn't think I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a sociologist. I wanted to be like Margaret Mead, and I wanted to study people, or maybe an anthropologist. But when I went to college, I found out that was a lot more studying and writing and a lot less people. And I do like to talk.
And
so
you were like, I didn't want to study.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't want to do all those papers really.
Yeah,
so I decided that the better route to be with people was to be involved with students, who I always was involved with anyway. Always, like volunteering, stuff like that. Yeah.
You said a little bit about this question, but have you had any other jobs before this?
Oh, absolutely. So it started off when I was much younger. I started babysitting. I babysat a lot. My parents gave me a really meager allowance, so I had to earn my own money if I wanted to buy things, which we all do. And so I babysat, and I was pretty good at it, although I'm not really great with babies. My sister always had to step in for that. But then I got a job at the Dairy Queen, and I worked at the Dairy Queen for a long time. I did that in college. I worked at the Dairy Queen until I worked in food service, which is like dish room, stuff like that. And I decided I didn't like getting that dirty. So then I got the best job before teaching, and that was I worked at a daycare center, and I was the lead teacher for 3 and 4 year olds, which, surprise, I liked them too. So it all worked out. Yeah. That was really kind of my jobs into teaching. So
did anyone influence why you became a teacher? Like anyone specific?
All of my good teachers, and sometimes my bad teachers too. My parents were both teachers. They did not want me to become a teacher. They felt that it was a job that was not paid well, and even at the time, sometimes there was not a lot of support for teachers, and I saw a lot of frustration when they came home with that. But I also knew that they were very passionate about giving in their classroom, and so I think that motivated me to be involved in that way. And so even though, as I said, I went to college thinking I wasn't going to be a teacher, it was kind of something I always knew I wanted to be. So yeah, so my parents, and then all of my really good teachers, great librarians. Boy, did I have good librarians. And I also had an English teacher who motivated me to always make choices that were not just good for myself, but good for the people around me. And I think that kind of helped me guide me into teaching.
Yeah. How long have you been at Mount Olive?
Well, see, that's kind of a tricky question, because I have been at Mount Olive over 30 years. As I said, I retire in 2. So I'm going to be looking at my 32nd year and finishing that up, and being able to retire nice and comfortably with close to 35 years. So that'll be nice. It's a long time though. I mean, really, that's a lot of life being a teacher. So
yeah, really long time. Do you have any favorite memories from working here?
Oh my goodness. When I taught 8th grade, some of my favorite memories were when we put on plays. We also did some interactive things with our literature. You might remember we did a Titanic unit. Oh, maybe we didn't do that with you because you were in my 5th grade class. I always forget when I moved down. But I always like doing like interactive projects with kids. So we did a a big Titanic unit we did where we studied all the nonfiction around the Titanic. We did a big Christmas Carol unit where we dressed up in Christmas Carol outfits and sang songs of the centuries. We did this, I believe, where kids wrote stories that were really important to them. And then, I just think anytime we're really interactive, where we have not just our literature classes and our writing, but where we're able to put everything together. Like right now we're doing the Iditarod in 5th grade. And boy, those kinds of things stand out to me. That, and when a kid spilled paint in my room, and I said that it was a blood stain for the rest of the century. It was great. For quite a while, for about 20 years, I got to say, there's the blood spot, but it was paint. It was just paint.
It was just left there?
Yeah, well, we were doing a setup.
Did you try to get it off?
We did.
Oh,
we
okay.
did. My room at the time was very similar to the room we're in right now. It was very natural colored. And we were setting up things to make books for little kids. We were making I Spy books. And so we were writing out the text for it. And we were making pictures, like little scenarios. You know what an I Spy book is? We have all the different stuff. And somebody we had put on a play. So we had painted recently. And somebody put a paint can on a table. And then, of course, like all students do, somebody knocked down the table. So the paint spilled and we had splatter all over and you just couldn't get it off. So I put a desk on it and it made for a story,
Probably scared a lot of kids.
Well, I think they asked about it. And then I said, I don't know what that is. I wonder what it is, and they thought about it for a while. But and then I would always tell them the truth. Yes. Yeah. So.
Do you have any memories of this year that you really like?
Of this year, yes. I always say the year I'm teaching is always my favorite year because there's always something that you're going to that's going to stand out and that you're going to remember. And this is a really small group I'm teaching right now. I'm teaching 5th grade, and they're one of the smallest groups that I have. And, we have just really recently had a lot of fun with some of our creative writing. And that's one of my favorite things, too. As you know, I like doing NaNoWriMo clubs, things like that. I like doing those, and writing clubs. And so when we're writing, I get to see a lot of the really fun stories that these 5th graders can come up with. They can be very creative and silly sometimes. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Anything else?
I was going to ask something.
Well, I had said something about NaNoWriMo. Do you guys have clubs in high school? And there's like clubs and groups and things, right? Where you join and you do different stuff, like journalism is a club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more or less it's really a class. But
yeah. Well, see, in elementary and junior high, we kind of have groups and clubs because we don't have all the classes. So like NaNoWriMo has always been a club because we couldn't always do that in the class. We couldn't do all that creative writing that I really enjoyed to do with the kids. And we sometimes had a drama club where we could act out, that kind of thing. So,
are you still teaching the kids sign language?
I do. So there's always something extra, isn't there? There's always a little extra in a classroom. And so we always start off with a little bit of sign language, things like, how are you? And
how to say
I'm
your
fine.
name.
And how to say your name in the alphabet and stuff like that. Yeah. So that always, it's an extra thing. But I think there are things that stick with you too. Like you always remember them, like you just brought that up.
Yeah. I remembered it. I'm trying to learn sign language.
Yeah.
I borrowed a book from you, and I know how to fingerspell.
Yeah.
And I know how to say a few things.
Right.
I'm trying to learn. It's not working.
I think one of the jobs as a teacher really is that we plant seeds. Have you ever heard that saying before? Is that you plant a seed and you don't know how it's going to sprout later. And I think that a lot of teachers did that for me. When I was growing up, you asked about inspiration. I think seeds are planted about different things, but we never know. Like, I don't know if you're going to end up being a person who is a sign language interpreter or not, right? I don't know what you're going to do in your future. So we plant little seeds in different places. And then as you grow older, you decide if that's what you're going to do. And I feel like teachers did that for me too.
Yeah, you won't know what a kid will like
Yeah,
and won't
yeah,
like.
exactly. They can't always like everything I like, right? So, yeah.
Well, that's all I have.
Wonderful.
Do you have any finishing things you want to say? Or anything?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for interviewing me. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.